for this week. Week 5 being the final week of the spring split first half. So it was kind of confusing, but the spring split is broken into two parts. Part 1 and Part 2, just take that. In the middle is the charity event week, which I'll be at, the fundraising for Red Cross. And then you play all the teams again. So you play all the teams for Part 1, the week break for the charity week, and then you play all the teams again for Part 2. So this is basically the final moment to really see where everybody stands. Our first game up for the week on Thursday is Envy versus Denial. Envy started off this season super strong. I think they were like 6-2, and they've lost a lot of their past games now, having some rough sets. They need to pick up some W's to keep their momentum going and make sure that they're still at the top of the pack. If they lose both of these games, which I don't think that they will, but if they do, then they're going to actually be almost dead set in the middle. But I have Team Envy taking it over Denial 2-0. Eager versus Vandozos should be the easiest FP of the week. I don't want to think too much on it. Eager 2-0. Eager having an absolutely stellar performance last week, taking out Soar and Enemy 2-0. And what people thought would probably be 2-0 stats for Soar and Enemy. So absolutely crazy play coming out for them, showing that they should be a top 3 team right now. But there's a lot of teams trying to prove that they should be a top 3 team, and a lot of them are coming out strong. So it's interesting. Enemy versus Soar should be a great set. Normally I would give this all the way to Enemy, but Eager beat Enemy 2-0, so it's like, what? But then at the same time, Soar also lost 2-0 to Eager, so it's like, what? But still, I'm sticking with my guns on this one, and I'm giving this Enemy 2-0. If you're not feeling the Enemy train right now, I would take this split then, but I would not put it 2-0 Soar. Soar playing strong, but I don't know how strong yet. They still have not very many games played. They must play at least twice, maybe 3 times this week. They gotta play a lot of games. Moving on to Friday, we switch over to Europe. Dignitas versus Torpedo. Dig trying to make contention for top 3. Looking to be Panthera plus maybe Dig and Paradigm around there. But Dig should take this 2-0. Torpedo showing a little bit of strength last week. Not enough to make me take them off a game off of Dig, but they're trying to show us strong there. Now, Cringe Crew is an interesting team. Cringe Crew has played up to their competition and down to their competition. Up and down to their competition. Cringe Crew has played extremely well against very top teams, and I think they have a ton of potential in the European region. These guys are my wild card for the top 3 in Europe, and I think that if they can make sure that they play like they do against these top teams, against some of the bottom seeded teams in Europe, that they can take out the top 3, and they could probably take out Dig from the top 3. Panthera versus Fnatic, not going to wait too much time on that. Fnatic bottom seeded, EU, Panthera top seeded. Fnatic having a very hard season. I think if I'm correct, I could correct me in the comments if I'm not, but I don't think Fnatic has ever missed a LAN in Smite's history since that team has pretty much been together. All the way back since they were a thing on SK and then switched over to Fnatic. I don't think they've ever missed a LAN. Ever. And at this point, I don't even know if it's possible for them to make the LAN at 3-9. Probably some. I mean, I guess probably, but they'd have to do some crazy things, starting with beating Panthera. So I don't see that happening. They have a long way to go if they want to make it to LAN still. Paradigm versus Hungry for More. Hungry for More, I think, 1-2 last week. They took out a series 2-0 against somebody that they were not supposed to win against, I'm pretty sure, but I can't quite remember. But Paradigm should take this 2-0 and increase their record to 8-4, giving them solid footing for second place in the European region. Panthera versus Dig. I just do not see I just do not see Dig taking this. Dig, a strong team. Like I said, I do think they have contention for third place in Europe with Cringe Crew. I think it's going to be between those two, trying to see who can get that third place spot to go to DreamHack. But it's not going to be off of the back of Panthera wins. So, best of luck with that, Dig. I am so happy they are not in my region. So, very happy. Very happy. So, LG versus ALG. LG versus ALG here, guys. Luminosity. This is so funny. So we look at these records. Luminosity considered to probably be the top team outside of Enemy in North America. ALG in the bottom two. But the difference in score is only 2 games. That's how close North America is right now. That literally all of the teams outside of right now Randozzo's and Enemy are actually within just 2 games of each other, which is insane. This should be a great series. We see the roster swaps coming out from ALG, or the role swaps, I should say, doing a lot of work, helping them out. They won 2-0 against Randozzo's with it, but Randozzo's not one of the stronger teams. In fact, they have not won a set yet, so perhaps it was irrelevant to their swaps. Luminosity seemingly to find their footing, but they just lost 2-0 to Soar, who had lost to Eager. You know, there's a lot of like A beats B, beats C, beats D, D beats A kind of thing going on this season. But this should be a crazy good set if both teams show up, and I have this going the way of Split. Apparently on the same day, I guess I'm playing twice on Sunday, it seems. Looks like I'm playing again. By playing again, I mean ALG is playing again against Soar. This game, I would say, would probably be pretty dependent on the Luminosity game. So, go to, say, the... look at those games beforehand. If you're watching the games that day, this LG versus ALG, if one of them wins 2-0, if ALG wins 2-0, that could be good momentum going forward. If they lose 2-0, it might hurt momentum going forward. But generically, I would give this towards Split. Soar having a really good season. They also play earlier in the week, depending on how they do against that team, who they're playing. Enemy. If they do lose 2-0 to Enemy, it could hurt a little bit of their momentum, or because it's earlier in the week, it might kick them into gear to get ready for those games. So pay attention to those earlier games, because you have the whereabout to be able to change these games as you play. Whereas, you know, obviously for those of you watching this on YouTube, I can't just, you know, wallywomp and change the video as, you know, the week continues. But pay attention to those. Pay attention to those. Okay? Soar and ALG looking at a potential split. Okay? Monday, we have Fnatic versus Torpedo Gaming. Bottom of seed tier in Europe. Both of these teams have to win these games, okay? They need to win these games. They need to pick them up. Honestly, I have it going the way of Split. I think they're very close. If you're going to give it 2-0, I'm leaning towards Torpedo right now. But you gotta be careful with it. You gotta be careful with it. And finally, we have LG versus the Randozzos. No problems here. That should be LG. And that should finish up the Week 5 predictions. Envy over Denial 2-0. Eager over Randozzos. Enemy over Soar. Dig over TPG. CC over Leftovers. Panthera over Fnatic. Paradigm over Hungry for More. Panthera over Dig. Splits between ALG in both their matches. Fnatic TPG split and LG over the Randozzos. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with my picks and why down in the comments if you're watching on YouTube.